Hi everyone, it's Katina Rankin, founder of the nonprofit Katina's Classroom, and I'm also a children's author. And today I will be reading my civil rights children's book, March On Children, the story of James Meredith's March Against Fear. And as you can see, James is right behind me. So let's get started. Come on, Mom! I can't be late. I'm leading the march, Rankin yelled from the bottom of the stairs. I'll be down in a minute, son, his mother Nan yelled back. What march? Isabella asked Rankin. The march against fear, Rankin replied. What's there to be fearful of? And why are you leading a march? Isabella asked. We're reenacting James Meredith's March Against Fear, Rankin told Isabella. Who is James Meredith? Isabella inquired. In his words, he's a bad man, Rankin answered. Well, what did he do that was so bad? Isabella asked her brother. He meant bad in a good way. You know, like when we see a pretty girl and say, she's bad, Rankin explained. He desegregated the University of Mississippi, or Ole Miss, Rankin told Isabella. Desegregated? Isabella said. You mean like the little girl Ruby Bridges, who was the first black to go to that school in Louisiana? Yes, but James Meredith was a grown man. He was the first black man to enter the University of Mississippi. It was a big deal. President John F. Kennedy sent federal police to escort him to and from school. Why? Isabella asked. As you know from reading about Mrs. Bridges, blacks and whites could not go to school together, Rankin explained. People could get hurt trying to learn together. People were threatening Mr. Meredith's life if he went to that school. The police and military had to step in. Did they harm him? Isabella asked inquisitively. Not at Ole Miss. However, they did when he led his March Against Fear, Rankin answered. Mom walked down the stairs in a black pantsuit wearing a string of pearls. She grabbed her black clutch purse off the table and asked, Are you two ready to go? Yes, ma'am, they answered. On the ride to the school auditorium, Isabella said, Are you going to tell me how Mr. Meredith got hurt in that march or not? Watch the play, Isabella. You'll find out, Rankin told her. Isabella, do you remember when Rankin went to work with your Aunt Katina? His mother asked. Yes, ma'am, Isabella replied. T.T. Tina, as you all call her, is a journalist, her mother said. I know, Mom. She anchors and reports at the television station, Isabella blurted out. On one of those interviews, she took Rankin along with her and even let him ask civil rights icon James Meredith a few questions, her mother explained. I enjoyed talking to him so much and learning about his life that I asked my English teacher, Mrs. Leffridge, if we could do a play on his life. We narrowed down his civil rights works to a march he led, Rankin told Isabella. When they made it to the school, their mother Nan straightened Rankin's shirt and brushed his hair. Nan said, Break a leg, as Rankin headed backstage. The lights in the auditorium went dark. A spotlight beamed on the red curtain, displaying a white M on the material. The curtains slowly opened. There stood Rankin, on the left of the stage with students behind him. He began to walk, and the students followed him. Rankin looked out into the crowd and recited these words by James Meredith. If you don't remember anything else I tell you, remember, finishing is far more important than starting. Why does that sign say Peabody, Mom? Isabella asked. Because that's where Mr. Meredith started his March Against Fear, at the Peabody in Memphis, Tennessee. He marched from Tennessee to Mississippi, her mother replied. Now shh, pay attention to your brother. I thought I was the baddest man that had ever been born, Rankin recited. I was at war And I thought I was going to win, Rankin said as he continued walking and sharing his story with other marchers across the stage. Were you afraid to step into the classroom at Ole Miss? One of the marchers asked. I wasn't caring nothing about integrating nothing. My goal was to destroy the system of white supremacy, Rankin said in his Meredith role. To be courageous means there's got to be something to fear. But I use reverse psychology on fear, the young Meredith actor continued saying as they crossed the state line into Mississippi. Kapow! Gunfire rang out when they made it to Hernando, Mississippi. The young Meredith hit the ground, laying on his stomach. A look of pain could be seen on his face. The marchers scattered. Meredith was shot by a white man named James Aubrey Norval. Meredith was rushed to the hospital. The curtain closed. Mommy, I asked Rankin if Mr. Meredith got hurt. He didn't tell me. He told me I had to watch the play. I guess that answers my question, but I have another question. Did he die? Isabella asked. You'll find out soon enough, Sweet Pea, her mother said as she put her arm around Isabella and gave her a hug. The red curtains opened again. We must keep going, a marcher said. No way! We should give this up. Someone could have died, and someone could die, another marcher chimed in. Yes, but think about it. This started out as a solo march. He did not want this to be a media event, another marcher commented. Don't you remember what Mr. Meredith told us at the beginning of this march? A third marcher said with authority. Finishing is far more important than starting. Think about it. We can register people to vote if we keep going, another marcher remarked. They placed one foot in front of the other. The march continued while James Meredith was hospitalized. Some big names joined the March Against Fear, such as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And, after a short hospital stay, Meredith rejoined the movement. Look, Mommy, Rankin's back. That means Mr. Meredith lived, Isabella blurted out. Yes, baby, not so loud. Pay attention, her mother whispered. The two biggest problems in the world today is the black-white issue and the rich-poor issue, said the young Rankin back in his Meredith role. The marchers listened intently to Meredith as he kept talking and walking until 220 miles later when they reached the steps of the state capitol of Mississippi. Rankin slowly stepped in front of a podium and said, When I talked to Mr. Meredith, he said these words to me. Am I or am I not a citizen? So I ask the same of you tonight. Look at the person next to you and realize we are all created equal. As we leave this auditorium, putting one foot in front of the other, remember these words by Mr. Meredith. A walk is an exercise of the right of citizenship. Today, will you begin your march against fear? The end. I hope you enjoyed story time. I'll see you next time.